Hey everyone, think about your day so far. You've probably checked your email, scrolled through social media, maybe even used a smart device in your kitchen. Every single one of those actions puts you on the front lines of a huge digital world. And in that world, well, staying safe is everything. So today, let's pull back the curtain and really get into what cybersecurity is all about.
I mean, just take a second and think about it. You've got your phone, your laptop, smartwatch, heck, your refrigerator might be online right now. It's kind of wild to realize that there are actually more connected devices on this planet than there are people. And yeah, this has completely changed our lives, for sure. But it also comes with a pretty big catch.
See, every new device, every new connection we make, it's like we're expanding the battlefield. And the people on the other side of this, the attackers, they're not just sitting around. They are getting smarter, more creative, and way more sophisticated with their methods. It's a constant cat and mouse game, and that's what makes this so urgent for all of us.
So that really brings us to the big question, right? In this world where we're connected to everything all the time and the threats are changing by the minute, how in the world do we actually stay safe?
All right, to answer that, we have to start with the basics. We need to define our shield. You can't fight back if you don't know what you're protecting or what tools you have. And it really all boils down to one single core idea. So what exactly is cybersecurity? You know, it's easy to just think of it as some antivirus software you install and forget about. But it's so much bigger than that. At its heart, it's an active practice. It's this constant, ongoing effort to protect everything, from your personal laptop all the way up to huge global networks, from digital attacks.
Okay, so what are these attackers actually after? What's the end game here? Well, their goals usually fall into one of three buckets. First, some are just after your information. They want to access it, change it, or maybe just delete it entirely. Second, a lot of them are after your money, using things like ransomware to extort you. And finally, some just want to cause chaos, to interrupt a business and just grind everything to a halt.
Okay, to really get a handle on how to defend ourselves, we've got to understand the enemy first. So let's do this. Let's break down the anatomy of a cyber threat. We're going to meet the key players in this whole digital underworld.
So first things first, let's talk about the big picture. All of these different threats we hear about, they all fall under one huge umbrella. And we call that umbrella cybercrime. Now, the definition is pretty broad on purpose. Basically, if a crime uses the computer or the internet, it's cybercrime. This is the fundamental challenge that cybersecurity was created to solve.
So that's the crime. But how are these crimes actually pulled off? Well, cybercriminals have a whole toolkit, but there's one primary weapon of choice, a malicious tool that I guarantee you've heard of. And that tool is malware. The name itself is literally a mashup of the words malicious and software. It's really just a catch-all term for any program or code that's designed to cause harm. So things like viruses, spyware, Trojans, they all live under the big malware umbrella. Okay, now let's zoom in even further. Let's talk about one of the most famous, or maybe infamous, types of malware out there. It's a specific tactic that is 100% about the money. And we're talking about ransomware. This stuff is particularly nasty. It's a type of malware that basically takes your data hostage. It gets in, encrypts all your files, locks you out, and then demands a ransom payment to give you the key. Remember when we talked about the goal of extorting money? This is it in its most direct and damaging form. All right, so we've got the crime, we've got the tool, we've got the tactic. But who's the person actually behind the keyboard doing all this? In the cybersecurity world, we have a name for them: the hacker. Now, in this context, a hacker is someone who uses their computer and networking skills to gain unauthorized access to systems. They're the ones who find the weak spots, deploy the malware, and ultimately commit the cybercrime. Okay, phew, that's a lot about the threats, and I know it can feel a little bleak. But the good news is we are not defenseless, not even close. So now let's pivot and talk about how we start to fight back, how we can build our own digital fortress. So every good fortress needs a gatekeeper, right? A guard at the front door checking IDs, deciding who gets to come in and who has to stay out. Well, in the digital world, that first essential line of defense is a firewall. A firewall's job is pretty simple in concept. It watches all the traffic coming into and going out of a network, and it filters that traffic based on a set of security rules. It's literally deciding who gets in and who gets blocked. This is an absolutely crucial first layer of protection.
And this is so important, one line of defense is never enough. A single wall, no matter how strong, can always be broken. The absolute best strategies rely on having multiple layers, which brings us to the core philosophy of all modern cybersecurity.
And this brings us to our final and, honestly, most important concept, this idea of building a layered defense. There's a name for this strategy. It's called defense in depth, and it is absolutely the key to creating a system that's truly tough to break. So the whole idea behind defense in depth is that you have to apply security at every single level. It's not enough to just guard the front door. So you start with network security. That's your firewall. Then you move to application security, securing the actual programs running on the network. From there, you protect the data itself, information security. And finally, and this is a big one, you have operational security. That's the human element, the rules and procedures that people follow to keep everything safe. See how each layer backs up the others? So look, if you take just one thing away from all this today, let it be this. There is no magic fix, no single silver bullet for cybersecurity. Real, true digital safety comes from building a resilient, layered defense. The idea is that if one layer fails, another one is right there to catch it.
And that really brings us to a final, forward-looking question. We know for a fact that attackers are never going to stop innovating. They will always be looking for a new crack in the armor. So the challenge for all of us isn't just about strengthening the walls we already have. It's about constantly asking, what does our next layer of defense need to be? Thanks so much for joining me.